Good afternoon to the Assembly Committee on Education, the hardest working committee in the legislature today. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members De Silva. Here. Dahlia. Here. DeLong. Present. Flanagan. Here. Hanson. Hardy. Here. Hunt. Here. Koenig. Here. LaRue Hatch. Here. Mosca. Here. Orentlicker. Here. Chair Torres Fawcett. Here.
Please mark Assembly Member Hanson. Present, since she just arrived. She's right on time. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining us in a very packed room in Las Vegas, and anyone following our channel on YouTube. Thank you. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel today. A couple housekeeping items. Please silence your electronic devices if you wish to testify. We have a new subscriber here in the room. If you wish to testify, I silence my device too. Please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to our committee staff. Our sign-in sheet is right over there, so please make sure that you do that immediately when you enter the room. For those joining online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and state your name, spell your name, and state your affiliation, if any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. Handouts should have already been provided to the committee staff. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we do not agree with another person's position. Committee members will be using their laptops and sometimes our cell phones because our internet has not been the most reliable in the last couple of days. So please do not view this as a sign of disrespect. We're just trying to view all of our committee documents that we need. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Any public comment that's not submitted within those 24 hours, I do not accept. So if you are listening and you're one of those people submitting public comment late, please make sure that you submit it on time in order for it to be adopted. We have several bills up for hearing today. I'm going to go ahead and just give a run of the land. We'll do the work session later on in the meeting, but we are going to go ahead and start with AB 386, and then we will go to AB 316, and we will conclude with AB 472. The work session will be sometime in the middle of that. So at this time, I will go ahead and open the hearing on AB 386. Additionally, I do want to note to presenters and members of the audience, members of the public that are watching, what we are going to go ahead and do today is we will do the hearing here. That'll take no more than 15 minutes. We do have several bills today, and we do have 4 p.m. committees. So we'll do those here so we'll do the 15 minutes, and then after that, we will go ahead and do questions and hear support, opposition, and neutral. We will be limited on what we will be able to take. It'll be about 7 minutes. We'll do 7 minutes here in Carson City, 7 minutes in Las Vegas if it looks like I have any, but I will always give preference to those of you that are here physically in this building or in my Las Vegas building first. So please don't be caught by surprise, but we're limiting testimony to 20 minutes just because we do have such a packed day here in Carson. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So without further ado, we will go ahead and open the hearing, if I haven't already, on AB 386. So we'll go ahead and proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and committee members. I'm Heather Goulding. I represent Assembly District 27, and I am delighted to introduce a team today to present the Education Assessment Choice Act. With me today is Dylan Shaver from Pinion Public Affairs. He's representing Washoe County School District, and also from Washoe County School Districts, Laura Davidson and Jenny Anderson. I unfortunately have triple booked appointments for today, so I'm going to leave you in their good hands. I'm going to listen until I need to sneak out, but I'm going to hand it over to Dylan Shaver with the permission of the chair, and thank you so much for your consideration today.
Thank you so much, Chair Torres Fawcett, members of the committee. For the record, Dylan Shaver, D-Y-L-A-N-S-H-A-V-E-R, here on behalf of the Washoe County School District to present Assembly Bill 386. 6. You have heard me discuss before in this committee that throughout the interim, we worked with WCSD to create a platform that reflected the real needs of the district and was focused on ensuring that the instructors and all the personnel at WCSD are able to focus on what they do best, which is getting our kids ready for the real world, ready for life. In crafting that platform, what we came across, and of course we worked with Assemblymember De Silva on this last session as well, is this concept of how much test time was taking up the instructional day for our personnel. Students are assessed and assessed and assessed. And listen, we need this data. I said listen, and Ms. Lower actually popped up. It's just a turn of phrase. I apologize. I didn't mean to startle anyone. But what we need the data. We need the results of the assessment. There are many ways to get that data. And in Washoe County, as well as I suspect Clark and everywhere else in the world, there's a lot of time trying to collect it over and over again to sort of get to the same spot. Those layers of testing absorb instructional time, absorb teacher attention, and they're stressors for the participants. Our intent in presenting the bill today is to reclaim some of that instructional time as well as empower school districts to choose the assessments that are right for them and for their community. As I said, this testing comes in layers, and much to Laura Davidson's surprise, I'm going to sort of kick to her for a little bit to describe those. But I picked these 3 for this particular slide because these are all tests that my own children are preparing for literally right now in school. And Dr. Davidson will give us a little bit of background as to what it is they're doing and why.
Thank you. For the record, Dr. Laura Davidson. I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation for the Washoe County School District. Been in my position for about 14 years now, and Mr. Shaver is exactly correct. We have a lot of assessments in our system, and every assessment serves a purpose. However, many of you may know through the Read by Grade 3 legislation, we have had MAP in our state for over a decade at this point. They adopted it in 2015, and that means when we ultimately made the decision to switch over to iReady, which is another interim assessment administered 3 times a year in grades K through 8 for us, we did not enter into that decision lightly. We had tried MAP and given it a good faith effort 24 times before we finally made the decision in 2023 to adopt a new assessment. And that was because MAP was not meeting our district's needs. Anyone who's looked at our Washoe County School District data can see that our reading performance even pre-pandemic was flat at best and post-pandemic on the decline. We owed it to our students to administer a different assessment that would provide us the tools that we needed to drive our instruction. And so in 23-24, we adopted iReady, which is an interim assessment, as I said, for reading and for math. And the reason that we decided to select iReady instead of MAP was not just our lagging reading performance, but also because the assessment landscape had really changed in the past decade. The tools are much more efficient now, they're more responsive to student needs, and so it was the time to make a better assessment choice for our students, because the intent of assessment is not to fill a compliance requirement. Assessment is best used in the classroom to guide instructional decision making. We have other assessments like the Smarter Balance Assessment, which really help with those cross-district comparisons, but interim assessments like iReady and MAP are best used in the classroom with students.
Thank you so much, Dr. Davidson. I just want to highlight for the committee, if I may, whenever you all have a last-minute request for data or anything that we need for a bill, Dylan Shaver for the record, sorry. whenever you have a request for data or anything coming at us, and that you call me, you call a member of our team, Dr. Davidson is our first phone call. So I want to thank her publicly and on the record for being so responsive to those things, and heretofore only yelling at us sometimes. Moving right along, Dr. Davidson highlighted that 2023 decision, and I wanted to introduce the committee to the concept of dead reckoning. If any of you have been through orienteering or working with a map and a compass, dead reckoning is when you have the map in front of you and you are making all of the right decisions, but you have made the wrong decision about where you are on the map. And so you can't possibly get where you're going. And I want to apply it here to the box there. It's kind of small, to the results of map testing that I, as a parent, have received. And what you can see there is two bars. One is blue and one is yellow. The blue is clearly identified as the student RIT, which is my student, I presume, though the paper doesn't say that. The paper also doesn't say what RIT stands for. You can sort of see that there's a number score assigned to it, 192, and then the norm grade level mean RIT has the number assigned to it, 172. None of those terms or numbers are defined as the, and this is the handout that every quarter I get with my own child's test results. Now, on this committee, I think there's 13 of you, and between the 13 of you, probably wildly varying assessments of my own intelligence. But I, as a parent, should be able to figure this out pretty readily. And unfortunately, it's just not user-friendly from the parental perspective. But I do get to know that my daughter's Lexile range, again, not defined on this handout, is somewhere between 935L and 1085L, another range of numbers not defined on the handout. Now, I have the internet, just like anybody, and I go to the internet and I type in Nevada map scores, and what you get is the Department of Education summary on what map testing is and a link to the map website, which itself does not give you answers to these questions. I am sure they exist somewhere, but I'm just giving you the perspective of a comparatively sophisticated parent navigating this process. And this is just one sliver of it, because also looking at these results are teachers who are not getting much instruction, for lack of a better word, for how to proceed when they get these numbers back. And then administrators who then, again, there's nothing instructive about what comes back here. There's no path forward. It is just sort of a series of numbers. And we know how everybody compares to one another, but there's no next step after that. Which brings us to the bill before you today. For those of you following along on Nellis, we are discussing primarily Assemblymember Goulding's amendment that has been uploaded and is available to you. The intent of both versions was the same. We just sort of had to iterate after what we did the first time around was insufficient. But essentially, Section 1A of the bill allows local school districts to devise and submit their own plans to the department for an evaluation process, and 1C allows NDE to, by regulation, maintain the standards for how that data has to look to make sure that the districts are submitting what they need to submit. 1C also allows for NDE to continue to provide a system of common assessment. At Washoe County School District, we understand that we have an idea that works for Washoe County. We're not trying to force 16 other school districts in the SPCSA to do it our way. What we want to be able to do is get the data that works in our community, that works for our personnel and for our students, and to put that into action right away while not over-testing and overburdening our personnel. Outside of that, I mean, really, those are the only two things the bill does. Our goal is really, like I said, to streamline that classroom time. Dr. Davidson, I think I can kick back to you to fill in some of the blanks here.
Dr. Laura Davidson, for the record. Exactly. So the intent of this legislation is to provide much needed flexibility. So one of the challenges that we face when we adopted iReady in 2023 is that we're still held to the letter of the law, which requires a universal assessment in all districts. That means we have to double test our students in grades K through 3 merely to meet the compliance aspects of this legislation. Even though we know that just as the assessment landscape has changed in the past decade, there are methods for us to equate assessments one to another. And vendors are happy to do this work for us free of charge. These assessment contracts are very expensive, and it's very little lift for them to tell us what a proficiency score on iReady is compared to a MAP proficiency score compared to a proficiency score on Smarter Balance assessment. This is really common practice, so there's essentially no need for a universal assessment across all districts because we have the capacity to link all these assessments across, a very common practice in education. And what it allows us to do is, even though the Nevada Department of Education currently has a request for proposal out right now to select an assessment for Read by Grade 3, and in a matter of weeks may tell us that they have readopted the MAP assessment, or perhaps they'll select a new assessment, and maybe that will be iReady, which would be of great benefit to Washoe County School District, but it would harm the other districts who have, instead of iReady, maybe have gone all in for MAP. And so they would be faced with the same challenges that we have faced the past year, having to realign all of our intervention systems, having to realign all of our training, possibly having to double test students or interfere with instructional time because they're forced to use an assessment that is not the best fit for their district. So again, these assessments, they're only powerful when they're used. And when I think about my own child who's about to enter kindergarten next year, I do not look forward to 9 hours of standardized testing for her, especially when I know that 3 of those hours are on MAP and are simply being done because of a compliance exercise, when we know that the other 6 hours of assessment are genuinely going to be used and that our teachers are well trained on how to use that to improve my child's instruction. So I think what this bill does is offers the much needed flexibility only for the districts who want to use something different than what the state has provided at their own cost. These assessments are expensive, and I believe that when districts are choosing to opt into a different assessment, they should have to pay for that because it's something that's alternative, and maybe even pick up the extra work of linking those assessments across so we can still meet the letter of the law. So we believe that this legislation really offers this opportunity for districts to try something new or different when their data is clearly telling them that it's time to do so. So is there anything else that we want to, did you have, or did you want to just open it up for questions? Thank you.
With that, the floor is yours, Chair Torres Fawcett, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. Members, any questions? I'll go first to Assemblymember LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for bringing this. As a parent of a second grader who is currently being double tested, I appreciate this very much. So I just want to clarify, under this bill, we will in fact be reducing testing time while still maintaining the data collection that we need, because we're just going to go with whatever one test the district deems best for their students. Is that correct?
Dr. Laura Davidson, for the record. Yes, absolutely. That's the intent. So there would be an assessment available to any district who wants to use that state-chosen assessment in grades K through 3, but it also allows the flexibility for districts to select an assessment and still provide the information back to the Nevada Department of Education so that we don't have to double test our students. Exactly. The intent is to reduce double testing. We know that's not good for any children, especially when it's just being done for a compliance activity.
Thank you. Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. I don't even know if I really have a question other than to say thank you. Thank you. Probably one of my favorite presentations. I will throw in a little question. The effective date if this were to pass July 1, 2025, I'm sure you vetted that. That's going to not be an issue. And we would start with the next school year, right? I got that correct?
Sure, Dr. Laura Davidson for the record. Yes, essentially what would happen after this hopefully passes is that the Nevada Department of Education would determine what that plan needs to look like for a district to include. So I think a district would need to prove, with the help of the selected vendor, some evidence of reliability and validity, that it's still testing the reading and literacy needs that are under the intent of the Read by Grade 3 legislation. So just the details of what that requirement might look like for districts who want to opt into this alternative would just need to be fleshed out. But I don't anticipate that that's a difficult set of requirements on anyone's side.
Thank you. I actually am going to build off that before I go to Vice Chair DeSilva, because I had a question actually about the implementation date too. I do not. I agree with the idea that it should not take necessarily a long time, but I also know that there will be several other pieces of legislation. And I know that this does require regulations. And I don't think that it would be feasible for regulations to be implemented in that short period of time. I don't know if somebody from the department could speak only to like how long it would take for regulations to be created. I see that they're conversing, so when they're ready. Thank you. Sorry to throw you on the spot, but thanks for being here.
Peter Zutz, Z-U-T-Z for the record. I oversee the department's Office of Assessment Data and Accountability Management. If I understood the question correctly, how long would it take once this legislation were to be signed for us to implement an assessment? We are beholden to state processing, state procurement processes overseen by the state purchasing office. Currently, the timeline from issuing an RFP, so there is some lead time in developing the RFP, doing requirements gathering, make sure everything's in there that needs to be in there, to contract signing, execution at the Board of Examiners is approximately 6.5 months. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, to be clear with my question, I think the question is, how long would it take for regulations to be created that would clarify like which type of assessments NDE would allow for other school districts to use? And if I'm correct, those regs, I think, would have to be approved by Ledge Commission. So I can't see that happening in less than 6 months. Is that correct?
Peter Zutz, for the record, we agree. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think maybe if we could have it, some language just that allows for like when regulations, that the regulation should be sent to Ledge Commission by a certain deadline. And then for Ledge Commission to take those up on the following meeting or something like that. So it might actually take like a year to implement, but at least that process, I obviously the sooner the better. Thank you. I think that's my question for now. I'll go ahead and kick it off to Vice Chair DeSilva.
Thank you, Chair. Just have a quick question about instruction time. I know that's a probably to the toggle last session. So is there any sort of like, I know you're one of the experts here in assessment here, Dr. Davidson. So is there any sort of guidelines we should look at in regards to like when we look at reevaluating assessment, standardized assessment in general, as to how much extra time we can have, for instruction time, in regards to the class day itself, those hours, those minutes, so on and so forth.
Jenny Anderson, Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Elementary for Washoe County. That's a challenging question for us to be able to set exactly what those minutes would look like. I think the most important thing when we look at assessment is looking at, are we able to use the information from the assessment to drive instruction? Because we're in a culture of opportunities to really embrace assessment literacy. And if people don't understand that the assessment is for a purpose, it's to help teachers decide how to help individual students to reach grade level standards and proficiency, then why are we doing the assessments? So the time, I think, is irrelevant just in that case, because if you're using the information, it could be a single question, and that gives you all the information that you need to be able to plan tomorrow's lesson. Sometimes with these more formal assessments, they do take more time, and if we're not digging into that information to find out what to pull from it to help your students, then that's where it feels very much compliance-based rather than instructional.
Quick follow-up, Chair. Yeah, and again, this is a second. Thank you for that response. Again, a bit broader in its scope, but high school ACT examinations. What would be, in your professional opinion, now a good substitute for that test? Thank you.
Dr. Laura Davidson, for the record. That could be a very lengthy conversation. I think the intent with the ACT exam was it had strong promise, right? The intent of the ACT was to identify students potentially who might have college-going promise that maybe we had just never assessed or found before. I think what's been a challenge with the ACT administration is that it is, one, administered in the 11th grade before all instruction is complete. So it depends really on what the intent of the administration is. Under ESSA, we must provide some sort of high school proficiency exam. In some ways, you can see why the ACT exam is nice for that, because it gives us some sort of indicator of college and career readiness, which could also be used to help students get into college. But that said, I think we've seen pretty lagging ACT scores across the state, and some of that promise perhaps not fulfilled. If students don't see themselves as college going, then perhaps they aren't taking that assessment with as much confidence or preparation as we may want. Many students go on to take the ACT test in the 12th grade instead, after they've had additional instruction. So again, a difficult question to answer, and it really depends on what the intent of that assessment is. And I know that's something that we could have a much lengthier conversation on.
Thank you. To clarify, that secondary assessment is not included in this piece of legislation. It's only right now inclusive of elementary schools. But to that effect, I know that there is a separate piece of legislation introduced that does impact the college and career readiness assessment that is currently selected. So that might be a conversation we have on another time. I'll go next to Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. So if this option to provide different assessment approaches is adopted by a district, is it district-wide when you do it, or would it be like within that space, say one school works better under a different type of assessment approach? Are they obligated to use this assessment approach, or do they have the choice between the two or the three?
Dr. Davidson, for the record, thank you for the question, a very thoughtful question. I think that really would be part of the intent of having this legislation written the way that it is that districts must submit a plan. So perhaps if they determine that a school, perhaps it's an alternative school with some very different needs a different assessment, maybe they could make a case for that in this plan that gets submitted to the Nevada Department of Education. I know in our case, when we made the decision to move to iReady, part of the reasoning for that was because we had no interim assessment in grades 4 through 8. So it made sense for us to have a consistent assessment in grades K through 8 because we wanted that consistency all across the district and for those nice handoffs from one grade level to the next. So I can see with this legislation that that may be something that district must write to in the plan that they submit to the Nevada Department of Education for approval.
Thank you, Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair, for another question. I was just looking this up because it popped in my brain. So this can be dangerous because I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I was going to ask you if you knew how many county or school districts in Nevada use iReady. I did look it up online. It looked like 16 out of the 17 counties use it, but I don't know how accurate Google is. But I was just curious if you had any understanding of the use of iReady in other districts.
Thank you so much for the question. Again, Dylan Shaver on behalf of the Washoe County School District. We know that, for example, Clark County uses it entirely differently from how WCSD uses it. And because it has so many sort of disparate applications, we don't really track. Everybody has the option to kind of take different modules and use and deploy them for different things. So we wouldn't purport to answer for all 17 of us. But in the WCSD experience, there are, whether it's iReady or some other platform we're not discussing today, the elegance is that these communities can determine what works best there. Maybe it's a module from iReady, maybe it's a platform that I, as really a dilettante in this subject area, don't even know the name of. And so long as the administrators and instructors and families over there find that it works for them, then they can turn around and submit that plan to NDE for approval.
Thank you for that. And I guess I just wanted to put on the record that it's not like we're asking to do away with something. We're asking the ability to have flexibility. And certainly the district has some proficiency with what you may be seeing as working. And it's the idea that we're not double loading up these kids with these assessments. So looking for things that really work, and so appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one quick question. It's probably more directed for NDE. I apologize. I'm wondering right now whether or not the state purchases maps, or if that is purchased by the individual districts that then implement it for their literacy assessment.
Peter Zutz for the record. The current contract with NWEA for the MAP growth assessment for K3 to comply with the K3 read by grade 3 law is managed and paid for by the state for all districts. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because it might be something that we want to consider too, that upon that approval that the district could either change that contract, or two, that they I don't see a purpose in the state purchasing this for a program for the entire state if it's not going to be used by every student in the state, right? That would then otherwise take the map. So it might be something that we consider, but I can take that conversation offline as well. Okay, at this time, I don't see any other questions from committee members. So we will go ahead and go to support. Anyone wishing to testify in support, please make sure that you state and spell your name and state your affiliation, if any. So I'll invite anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support to AB 386. Please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. My name is Angie Joy. I am a first grade teacher at Mountain View Elementary, and I serve as a member of CCEA's executive board. I am here to speak in support of Assembly Bill 386, which will allow school districts to choose the reading assessment that best fits their community and needs for kinder and grades 1 through 5. As an elementary school educator, I have had experience with multiple reading assessments, and I want you to know not all assessments are created equally, nor meet the needs of my school's community. One program that is currently used at my school site was easy to set up, came with diagnostic tests that could be used in assessing the different academic levels of the students, and they were easy for students to log into to take the assessments. The ease of testing made the assessment process extremely valuable in the classroom. Alternatively, we have also used assessments that were more difficult for students to get logged into, and assessment websites that frequently crashed and kicked our students out. Both of these assessments gave similar results about each student's proficiency, but only one assessment program gave a breakdown of each skill a student mastered and which one student needed more practice with. In conclusion, identifying an assessment program that is easy to use and full of educational benefits is imperative, As a teacher, I love the ease of testing for myself and for the students, but being able to use an assessment that connects to my instruction and offers summaries that families can use to help them at home is key to student success. We need a reading assessment that meets the needs of our community and students. I urge you to support Assembly Bill 386 and thank Assemblymember Golding for bringing this bill forward. Thank you. Angie Joy.
Go ahead next, please.
Hello, Chair Torres Fawcett and committee members. My name is Erica Jackson. I am a 27-year K-5 educator in Clark County. I am also an esteemed member of Clark County Education Association. I am here to speak to Assembly Bill 386. I strongly support it. The bill is crucial because it amends NRS 388.157 to allow school districts and charter schools to choose from at least 2 state-approved, valid, and reliable literacy assessments. This flexibility is essential for the following things. 1, meeting diverse student needs. Different assessments identify different literacy challenges: phonological awareness, decoding, fluency, and comprehension. Choice allows schools to select the best tools for their students. Number 2, enhancing data-driven decisions. Multiple approved assessments provide more comprehensive data to inform targeted interventions and instruction. 3, supporting English language learners, offering culturally and linguistically sensitive assessment options promotes equitable outcomes. 4, facilitating collaboration and early intervention. The bill supports collaboration between specialists and teachers and early kindergarten assessment. And 5, maintaining accountability. State approval ensures rigorous assessment standards while providing necessary flexibility. AB 386 empowers educators to efficiently address diverse student needs and improve literacy outcomes, and I urge you favorably to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the hardest working, most esteemed, and most educated committee in the building. My name is Tom Clark, that's T-O-M-C-L-A-R-K. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, and we're very much in support of this particular piece of legislation. I want to thank the Assembly member who brought it forward, and also Washoe County for kind of taking the lead on solving this issue and this problem that we see across the state. And the mechanism by which each of the counties can make that determination as to what assessment tool they would like to use. And if it's one of the 2 tools that's available that's paid for through NDE, that's great. But we may have counties, Lincoln, Nye, Elko, Washoe, Clark, that down the road may decide to use a different tool. And so this legislation gives them the ability to do so. Madam Chair, to you and through you to Ms. Hanson, in answering your question, if you Google it, it will probably say 16 counties, which means all of it, because Google still recognizes that there's only 16. Carson City stands alone. I will get you the exact information, though, as to what counties are using, but it's one of those 2 for now. And if that happens to, this legislation opens the door for them to use something new, exciting, and different. So we very much appreciate your time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't see anyone else here in Carson City, and I do not see anybody in the PAC room in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 386?
If you would like to testify in support of a
The Assembly Committee on Education will reconvene. Thank you to members of the public for your patience. We're just trying to work on a technical issue here. At this time, we will go ahead and go right into the work session. First to Ms.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. As a nonpartisan staff member, I may neither support nor oppose any measure before the committee. The first item on work session is Assembly Bill 39, which revises provisions governing charter schools. This is sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Education on behalf of the State Public Charter School Authority. The committee heard this bill on February 18th. Assembly Bill 39 revises various provisions relating to the State Public Charter School Authority and other matters concerning charter schools. The bill clarifies the voting membership of the authority and stipulates that voting members must be at least 21 years old. This bill revises qualifications for a teacher or administrator employed by a charter school or charter school management organization to be eligible to serve as a member of the authority. It clarifies that certain prohibitions against members of the authority being actively engaged in business with a charter school or holding a direct financial interest relating to such a school apply only if the school is in Nevada, deems a city, county, or college or university in the NSHE, the Nevada System of Higher Education, to be a local educational agency for all purposes relating to any charter school it sponsors, and clarifies certain provisions related to information submitted in support of a charter contract renewal. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to do pass AB 39. I have the motion from Assemblymember Mosca. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assemblymember Hansen. Is there any discussion? At this time, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? This motion does carry and passes unanimously. I will go ahead and assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Hunt. All right, and we will go ahead and proceed with Assembly Bill 48.
Thank you, Chair Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. Assembly Bill 48 is the next measure on work session. This revises provisions relating to bullying, sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Education on behalf of the Clark County School District. The committee heard this bill on February 18th. Assembly Bill 48 authorizes the Board of Trustees of a school district to reassign a student to another school in the district upon request of the student's parent or legal guardian if the student has been found to be a victim or perpetrator of bullying, cyberbullying, or discrimination based on race. If the perpetrator and the victim of bullying are both assigned to a new school, the perpetrator may not be assigned to the same school as the victim. The Clark County School District proposed an amendment to require a school administrator to immediately screen and assess all reports of bullying, cyberbullying, and discrimination based on race to determine whether to investigate a report as bullying or a code of conduct violation. The screening process and response protocols must comply with the Nevada Department of Education's procedures.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have the motion from Assemblymember Dahlia, and I have a second. I have a second from Assemblymember Hunt. Is there any discussion? Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. I will vote for this to pass it out, but I just want to express my concern that it's requiring the victim to leave the school to get away from bullying, rather than the perpetrator having to leave the school. And that's concerning to me, but I do want to get this out to the floor.
Thank you. And I think that was a concern with the piece of legislation. I believe that the legislation also allows its permissive language, just to clarify, so the victim or the perpetrator, so that either one could choose. But I'm happy to continue this conversation offline. So thank you for sharing your concern. Any other discussion? It doesn't appear there's any. At this time, we'll go ahead and take a vote. And as a reminder, this is a motion to amend and do pass. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This motion does carry and passes unanimously. I will go ahead and assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Flanagan. And we'll carry on with AB 236.
Thank you, Chair. The next item on work session is Assembly Bill 236, which revises provisions governing the selection of members to certain state boards and councils performing duties related to education. This bill is sponsored by Assembly Members De Silva and Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. The committee heard this bill on February 27th. Assembly Bill 236 revises the governor's appointment process for teachers and other school officials to certain state boards and councils, requiring the governor to select appointees from a list of candidates provided by a specified employee organizations. There are no amendments for this measure.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to do pass AB 236. I have the motion from Vice Chair De Silva. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assembly Member Dahlia. Any discussion? Assemblymember Lou Hatch.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to express concern that I'm worried that the voices of teachers in my district may be diluted by this bill. I absolutely want CCA to have a seat, and I would really prefer to have 2 seats so that we could have more teacher voices on these boards. So I will be voting no, respectfully. Thank you, Chair.
Any other discussion? At this time, I'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? Nay. I have a nay from Assemblymember Lou Hatch. This motion does pass, so we will go ahead and send this to the floor, and I will send that floor statement to Vice Chair De Silva. And we will proceed with AB 365.
Thank you, Chair Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. The next item on work session is Assembly Bill 365, which eliminates provisions requiring the University of Nevada, Reno School of Medicine to establish a program relating to the medical use of cannabis. This is sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Education, and the committee heard this bill on March 6th. Assembly Bill 365 repeals and the requirement for the University of Nevada, Reno School of Medicine to establish a program for the evaluation and research of medical cannabis. There are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you, and go Pack. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to do pass. I have the motion from Assemblymember Mosca. Do I have a second? I have the second from Assemblymember Hardy. Is there any discussion? Assemblymember Flanagan? Oh, sorry. The second was from Assemblymember Flanagan. I apologize. At this time, is there any discussion? I don't see any discussion. We'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of this motion to do pass AB 365. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? This motion does pass unanimously, and I will assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Ortlicker. All right, and I believe that concludes our work session for today. Great job, and let's give a round of applause. Ms. Lower's first work session here with us in education in Nevada. And good job to our freshman members who maybe were participating in a work session for the first time. That's always fun. So at this time, we will go ahead and open a bill hearing on 316. We will go ahead and open the bill hearing on AB 316. Please begin when you're ready. And just as a reminder, we are doing 15-minute presentations. I will time them. And then we will be limited to 2 minutes in support for each person that wishes to testify. We will always take people in person first. We'll do 20 minutes here in either Carson City or Vegas, then move to the phones if there's still extra time. Then we'll go into opposition. It will be limited to 20 minutes as well. So please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Yu Yingwing. I have the honor to represent Assembly District 8 in Southwest Las Vegas. Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the Committee on Education. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you to present Assembly Bill 316. This bill will add a non-voting pupil seat to each of our county school districts, including the qualification and procedure for appointment. Join me today to present AB 316 is Michael Keys, the student member of the Nevada State Board of Education and executive president of the National Student Board Member Association, as well as Mrs. Laura Jean Penrod, a high school English teacher at Southwest Career and Technical Academy, and the 2024 Nevada Teacher of the Year. As the father, one of my kids being a proud CCSD student and my other little one joining CCSD soon, I'm here before you to advocate for a change that recognizes the importance of student voice in shaping the educational policy and decisions that directly impact their lives. In every school across Nevada, our students experience firsthand the reality of our educational system. Our students are the front line of learning environments, so their perspectives are not just valuable, they're essential. They see what is working for them and what is not, and they understand the nuances of daily life in our schools in a way that no policy document or administrative report can fully capture. In fact, take Washoe County, for example, who has had a student on its board in practice since 1987. For almost 40 years, their student trustee has been part of Washoe School District leadership and has been at the table fighting for what students are seeing and empowering others just like them. It's about time we do that for all students. AB 316 seek to ensure that students are no longer a passive recipient of decisions that directly impact them, but are active participant in the conversation. One thing to note, AB 316 will not diminish the authority of our school boards, but instead strengthen them by ensuring that the most directly affected group, our students, has an opportunity to provide insight and feedback. To speak more of this bill, I would pass it over first to Mrs. Penrod and then to Mr. Keys.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Torres Fawcett and additional members. My name, for the record, is Laura Jean Penrod, and I'm here to present AB 316. We're going to go over the overview of why we need this legislation, the problem, why student voice and power in educational governance is important, as well as why this bill is the answer for that. We're also going to discuss what AB 316 will do and the national and local presence, as well as take questions. So the problem, there's an absence of meaningful voice from students in representation and educational decision making. Many times they are talked about in the room, but they are not in the room. And there's a disconnection between students and the policy making that affects them every day in classrooms. Why is student voice and power important? So I want you to think about this quote specifically as we continue in this presentation. So students are 100% of education's constituency and oftentimes 0% of the decision making. So why is student voice and power important? They have the firsthand experience that many of us as adults do not understand anymore. And we have been out of the classroom for many years and they are experiencing it daily. And boards create many policies that affect them and they don't have a say in what affects them in their daily lives as they are learning in school and even the things that happen outside of school and extracurriculars. So as the Department of Ed is working on a portrait of a Nevada learner, we must think if we want our students civically engaged, how do we engage them and do so meaningfully? So students can feel more involved and have ownership in their education. This bill provides that opportunity. I will now pass it over to Mr. Keys.
Thank you, Michael Keys, for the record. And good afternoon to Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. I'm so excited to be presenting in front of the most studious committee in the Nevada Legislature. So I'm going to go into a little bit about why AB 316 is the answer. A lot of different initiatives have taken place across the state to try to enhance student voice. So why is AB 316 the solution to that problem? The first point is it really does create a structured statewide approach to student representation, really ensuring that no matter where a student goes to school, they can ensure that their voice will be presented on the board and represented to their local school board. The second one is it really prevents tokenization that might happen with students across the state. It builds in protections for those students to really share what their voice is, no matter what that might be. And then it really does provide students with real-world experience working in government, policy, and leadership. Through my experience on the state board, can speak firsthand to that. Without that position, I doubt I would be presenting in front of you guys today, and so I'm honored to have that experience, and I would love for additional students across the state too. So AB 316 adds one student-nominated pupil trustee to the school board of trustees. Some key provisions included is that they would have the same rights as their fellow adult trustees, with the exception of a vote. One important thing to distinguish is that they have a preferential vote. So that's a formal expression of opinion taken before a vote and recorded in the meeting minutes. And my favorite provision of this is really that they're chosen by their peers. They're chosen by the people they represent in their constituency to really ensure that they represent the entire student population of their district. Some statutory duties of the student trustee would be they would serve as a liaison between the school district and the students. They would keep students informed of the ongoings of the board. They would introduce and speak on matters affecting students, and they would need to attend not less than 75% of the trustee meetings. So who would be eligible to run for a student trustee would be a rising 11th or 12th grader in a public high school within that county, and they must reside within that county to run. As I spoke about it earlier, it is selected through a democratic process, really ensuring that they live the ideals of democracy, making sure that their representatives are voted in by them to make sure that their voices are heard. They are student nominated, and the process is decided by the Board of Trustees. I know that this position may exist in some areas. We wouldn't want to disrupt that, and every school district is different. Their populations are different, their communities are different, and so they are student nominated, but that process can be decided by the local Board of Trustees in the district. And so what this looks like nationally, here's just a map of where student board members are locally across the country. You can see there are a lot of states that have it, but also there's a lot of progress to be made there. And then here's a slide just about where it is in law. If you want to look into that a little bit more to see what other states are doing, I can provide bills for the committee members if they so wish and more information on that. There are currently 5 bills in legislatures across the country about this, including AB 316. Locally, we do have a few counties that are doing this, have this in practice. Only about 16% of our students have student representation on their board. And so that 84% really we need to make sure that no matter where they live, they really have that opportunity to hear their voice and get their voices heard. One thing to note is that White Pine County just added their student trustee. This is not reflected on the map, but it was approved in February of this year. One district I would love to highlight about this is really Washoe County School District. They have multiple initiatives around student voice, including a student trustee. They call it a student representative to the board. They also have a student advisory council to the superintendent and have site-based student voice programs to really ensure that throughout their district and all the levels of their district, student voices of their students are really heard and appreciated. And this is Annie Batavia. Unfortunately, she could not be here today. She is the current Washoe County School District student trustee. So I just wanted to leave you with this quote before questions. Student representation empowers students to have a legitimate say in what happens through the power of connection, individuality, and collaboration. Because of student voices, we can learn about experiences through others and express ourselves while working towards a common goal of making a school a place where students want to be. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Assemblymember Nguyen to have closing remarks.
Yui Wing for the record, and thank you. That was an 11-minute presentation, so still under the rule of the chair. So, Chair, if I have your permission to go over the amendment that was submitted. Thank you, Chair. Again, Yui Wing for the record, and apologize to the committee for the last-minute nature, but we want to make sure that the intent of the Section 1 is not undoing anything that White Pine is doing or Washoe that has been doing for the last few decades, that the School Board of Trustees should have a say in this process. So anywhere that the previous language says County Commissioner will be reverted to the School Board of Trustee. So Section 1, number 1, the language should now be School Board of Trustee. And then, like Mr. Key mentioned, 1.1 also make sure that the language says in an advisory capacity to ensure that their pupil trustee vote is noted in the record, and their vote is not necessarily a vote per se, but their expression on the board of a particular matter would be noted in the record. The next section is section 3 to again correspond with the process that already exists, that the elections for school district with 50,000 or more pupils would fall back to the school board of trustee to devise the process of how the students are selected. Again, making sure that things that's already in place are kept in place, that is working and that's working well in Washoe County. And then the same section on section A, removing middle school and junior high school out of the process because the student trustee existing right now in Washoe and soon to be White Pine are all for high school students only. And the next part is on number 4, keeping the term from June 1 to May 31st to be consistent with the rest of the practices, and then removing the closed door sessions from the original language on number 5 because all school boards are subject to open meeting laws, so there should not be any closed session, and they should not be a part of that because it's usually a legal proceeding that we do not want a minor trustee to be a part of. And the last item, which is the right to receive the compensation of up to $750. Right now, $750 per month is with Washoe and Clark. The other school district may have a smaller number, so this is permissive language to make sure that we keep it at the cap of $750. Should they be able to receive compensation for their service of the board, and those are the amendment that was submitted. And we are now stand ready for questions, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for keeping it to time. Members, any questions? Just trying to catch an idea of who has questions right now. Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and start first with Assemblymember DeLong.
Why, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation and keeping it under 15 minutes. I wanted to focus on, I'm sure other people will have questions, but I want to focus on subsection 5D, the pay. You did point out Washoe County as an exemplary example of how this might work, and the Washoe County school board trustees currently get paid $750 a month. This is $750 a meeting. Washoe County meets twice a month. The student would be making $18,000 a year, which is probably twice of what we in the legislature make. So is $750 really the right number for a student?
Through you, Chair.
Please go directly to the members.
Thank you, Chair. Assemblymember Ewing for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember DeLong, for that record. I think the meeting that the trustees usually get compensated for is the actual board meetings, which takes place once a month. They may have work meetings or briefings outside of that, and then I see that I might be wrong there as well, but that's why we put the enabling language here for up to $750. So it's not meaning they're gonna get $750 per month, but we'd be happy to work with you, Assemblymember DeLong, to make sure that language is corrected so that it's per month and not per meeting. So thank you for catching that.
Vice Chair De Silva. I apologize. Assemblymember Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. And I think that potential amendment to make it $750 a month makes more palpable, because this doesn't even say regular meeting of the board. They have 2 regular meetings a month. And they also have if there's an issue going on, I mean, I served on the school board for 12 years. If there's an issue going on, we're having 10 meetings a month. According to this, $750 per meeting, this kid could be making $50,000 a year as a school board trustee. And I also think that with the requirement, I think it needs to state maybe that they need to attend 75% of the regular school board meetings that they hold, which are the twice a month. Because if not, this kid is going to need another full-time, he's going to not be able to go to school. Because I think, did superintendent, the new superintendent of the CCSD, I think I saw her walk in. But during that process, the school board, interviewed and they met, what do we want in our new person? And all of those are considered meetings. Is your student required to go to all of those? A lot of those are during the day. They're going to be missing school. So if we were going to require them to attend just the 2 regular meetings a month, that's great. If they want to and can, others, but to require them to attend 75% of all the meetings that the school board members have, I'm not sure that that's doable. There was a bill that we're having that's pretty much going to make the school board members in Clark County a full-time job and get paid $90,000 with the staff. So you can't expect a student to take on the same responsibilities as a trustee who we're looking to make that a full-time job. He can't be a full-time student and a full-time job as a trustee. So I think we need to pare it down, maybe just a little bit. I think there might have been a question in there somewhere, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Assemblymember Koenig, for the record. Yui Nguyen. Just wanted to I said I agree with you. Yes, I don't think that the amount of volume of meetings are definitely the intent of this legislation. It's just to ensure that they have a voice. I think we're still in obviously drafting stages of this, and we would definitely take your feedback into consideration. Even looking at the White Pine opposition letter that was submitted to your exhibit, it was even higher in that requirement. They have to attend 95% of the meeting, and also being allowed to be excused out of classroom time for that. And of course, that is not the intention. We want to make sure that the student members would be able to participate fully, but of course, academic should come first because they're there to study in graduate school, and I want to make sure that they are there for that purpose first, and then the student trustee, obviously, it comes second. And so we will work on that to ensure that we minimize the obstacle for both serving on the trustee role and being a student at the same time. Definitely is a juggling act. So I do see your concern, Assemblymember Koenig, and we want to make sure we address that in our work offline.
Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here and for presenting. And appreciate the Teacher of the Year award. So my concerns are on the amendment, Section 1, 5A, mostly is what I'm going to address with you. So the same rights as the voting members of the Board of Trustees, including without limitation attending all the meetings, being involved in any briefings, evaluations, cutting out closed-door sessions, and policy and operational discussions and receiving all meeting materials provided to the voting trustees. Now, I know as a member of the legislature, we have the resources which are invaluable to us, from legal to policy, all kinds of resources. Is the student representative able to request research, to request maybe, I know for us, we tie up a lot of time of the staff in doing some research, getting us data. Will that be a request that the student can make? And then if it's okay with the chair, I'll have one other question.
Yui Nguyen, for the record, thank you, Assemblymember Hanson, for the question. It's a great question, and in practice right now, and when I spoke to President of the Washoe School Board, Trustee Smith, she did tell us that, yes, they do get all of that. they are able to request anything that is publicly available to all the members, and they have the ability to interact with the school district staff just like the voting members. So yes, they do get all that currently in practice in Washoe, and the intention for us is to use the best practice because Washoe have been doing this since 1987 and it's been working for them, and I hope that we can use that best practice across the state.
Thank you, Chair, for a follow-up. And another thought is the open meeting law. Will the student representative, even though they're a non-voting member, will they be instructed in how the open meeting law works? Will they have to abide by the open meeting laws? Those sorts of things.
Ewing Wing, for the record, yes, that would be the training that they're receiving would be the same as the other trustee. That's also on the same section on B, that they will receive those trainings so that they are in compliance, so that they have the ability to serve in their role.
Thank you. And I've had some preliminary conversations with Washoe County School District. So can you explain how this is different, though, from what Washoe County School District is? Because we're not simply enacting or legislating what Washoe County School District is doing. I think we're going a little bit further. So can you explain how?
Thank you, Chair. Ewing Wing, for the record. And when I asked the Washoe's school district on their practices, and I asked the leadership there, interestingly enough, it is not anywhere in anything in writing. They don't have, things in their, I guess, rules or what do you call them? Regulations, policies. This has just been done by practice. They've been doing it since 1987 by precedent, so they haven't really put anything down on paper. So that's one. Two, right now, the school board selection process for them is through a third party, a student group that does give the election process. Then the chair of that student group will automatically become trustee. This language here that we're doing allow the board of trustee, for each school, county, to devise something that they put in their own language to be able to codify this in their books so that they can continue to do this. So this is just going to one step further and legitimize this process. And I don't know if I missed anything else. Go ahead.
Thank you, Michael Keys, for the record. I think that one important thing that this bill does is that it enshrines the rights of that student trustee to make sure that there's been instances across the country where this position exists, that if a school board disagrees with what a student might be saying, the school board does have the right to remove that student member. This bill allows their rights to be enshrined in that, and it also ensures that every student, no matter where they go to school, will have someone representing them and fighting for them on their school board.
I think that actually gives me a little bit more pause because I can definitely see instances where, a student is not meeting their expectations either on their campus, they're getting themselves into trouble, or within the school board that they are doing things that, we might find inappropriate that, you could be censured for even in the legislature. And so this, essentially it works to prevent that, or it requires us to follow that process in order to say, like, hey, maybe this isn't the program. I'm just thinking about even like models like the Nevada Legislature would have something that could prevent, if a student is doing something that is inappropriate or not becoming of the legislature, the program that it exists, that they would not necessarily continue to participate. So I guess that does actually give me a little bit more pause, but I'll continue to look at that. Is there any other questions, Assemblymember LaRue-Hatch, and then I'll go to Vice Chair De Silva.
Thank you so much, Chair. So as a Washoe teacher, I do appreciate that we have a student voice on our board. I do think it looks a little differently than this, and so I just want to ask some clarifying questions. I know that in Washoe County, our students do not have access to arbitration decisions, staff issues, personnel. Obviously, there's FERPA requirements as well. And so I just want to clarify, is it your intention to add language here to make sure that none of that private information that really a minor shouldn't have a hold of is being offered to the student representative?
Ewing Wing for the record, and thank you, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the question. I do agree with you. In speaking with the trustees across the state, they do want to make sure that this language is in there. So obviously, that will address your questions in terms of the legal part of this role. So the students trustee for most of them will be a minor, so they will not be privy to any legal information that would require of an adult trustee 18 years or older, as well as any types of NRS 288 discussion. They would not be privy to that as well. So we will work to add those language in to ensure that the students are protected from any types of legal recourse or legal challenges.
Thank you. And just to clarify, if we could get, if that is the intent of the legislation that is currently not in the amendment or in the bill language, so that would need to be added, but you can continue with questions.
Thank you, Chair, for the second question. So my second question was actually on the second page on subsection 6, when it's talking about the duties of the trustee. It says one of the duties is to keep pupils within the county informed of the business of the Board of Trustees. I just wondered how you envision that, because I obviously have deep concerns if a student suddenly has to email 60,000 students, and then we have student-to-student communication, and we legislators know what it's like to have an open access email for everybody to email to. And so I just wondered, what is your vision for how they're supposed to do that?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. The way that this has worked across the country and is working here in Nevada, like in Washoe County, is through a few ways. I think one really important way is through student advisory committees that exists in Washoe County. We just got one on the state level here in Nevada, and that would serve as a way to inform the entire student population about what's going on the board. Another few ways that they may be able to communicate would be a lot of student members across the country might set up social media pages. Some of them might put out newsletters, things like that, to really keep them involved and really talking to the students that they represent about what is going on their board.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Vice Chair Da Silva, I apologize.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you again for bringing this bill to our committee, Assemblymember Nguyen. Just had a question about legality and maybe constitutionality, and maybe legal can weigh in. You know, the question is really pertaining to the age of the student. Maybe you have a 17-year-old serving on a board now, an elected board, an appointed board, of course, but also getting paid. I don't know, is there any sort of like question as to whether we could do that? Because I know that sometimes the act of paying becomes a sort of a requirement that's just bestowed upon appointed and elected officials with that 18-year-old marker in the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Michael Keys, for the record. Through current practice, I would look at my position and I would refer to legal. I currently serve as the state student board member to the Nevada State Board of Education, and this position has existed for a long time. I get stipends just like any other board member, and I've served in this position since I've been less than 18. And so in current practice, that's how it works, but I would refer to legal. Thank you.
And we will go to legal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So I think the Assemblyman's question is referring to Article 15, Section 3 of the Nevada Constitution, which prohibits any person from holding office in Nevada unless they're a qualified elector, and a qualified elector has to be at least 18 years of age. So that's been part of the impediment for student members of these kinds of boards, that the Nevada Constitution would prohibit them from serving in an office, and this position could be in office depending on how it's structured. I believe the bill was structured in a way to prevent these student members from having a vote to avoid it being in office under the Nevada Constitution. Being paid is another qualification that could render this an office under the Nevada Constitution. There is a distinction between receiving per diem and travel expenses versus the position itself being paid. So it's likely okay for this position to receive travel and per diem like other members of advisory bodies receive. But this position becoming a paid position could potentially create a constitutional issue in rendering it a public office and limiting the holding of it to a person who would be a qualified elector, which would require the person be at least 18 years of age.
Thank you. I'll go now to Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. It's really neat to see a bill that works to engage our young people in the process. Has there been any consideration CCSD is really large, and there's a lot of schools and a lot of students to try to represent, and to choose one person to sit there, as hard as it is to choose the trustees to do it. And you mentioned the student councils. So I'm wondering if across the district there's ever been, or if there is consideration to creating more of an advisory council that then has to convene prior to the school board meeting, where the school board is required to take their comments and advisements under consideration for board meetings as a more maybe effective.
So for the record, Laura Jean Penrod, thank you, Assemblymember Flanagan. There is currently a superintendent advisory committee of students who do advise the superintendent. And our vision originally when we were talking about the bill was that each trustee would have a constituent that represented their district. And then from there, that would be the advisory committee, and they would vote on that one member to sit on the school board for CCSD. And definitely we have discussed the concern of one person in one part of CCSD only representing their constituents and not the whole district. So I think it would be best to take the superintendent advisory committee to work with the trustee member, or create another group that's a superintendent or student school board trustee advisory group that then advises the student who sits on the board to take those issues or whatever the concerns are to the actual meetings. I do understand your concern, and it is definitely one of mine. I am in Clark County School District, so I completely understand where you're coming from. And I think that that is something that could be worked on with the superintendent and the school board. So I do believe that you are definitely in the right direction of thinking about what that would look like in a much larger district like ours.
And I was wondering if Dr. Keating would be able to give some clarification on how this works in CCSD. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Brad Keating for the record, representing the Clark County School District. We do have a Superintendent Student Advisory Council. They meet every single month in the Clark County School District. It is 2 students from every single high school. So there are 100 students that are able to come together. They choose at the very, I'll walk you through this since I have the pleasure of overseeing the council. We meet every July at the beginning, prior to the school year starting. We do a 2-day retreat with those students so that they get to know each other. And then we do briefings on the Clark County School District. The Board of School Trustees speaks to them. The superintendent speaks with them, and then they decide what issues are most important to them for the school year. They then create the agendas and the topics that they want to discuss for every meeting moving forward. They provide regular updates to the Board of School Trustees on the items that are being discussed. We provide the minutes, the notes, all of the fun stuff to the trustees, and it culminates in a final report in May that the Student Advisory Council gives to the Board of School Trustees. So we are working every day with these students, and they work closely with the trustees to provide them input on a regular basis.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Keating about the program? I don't appear there's any more questions, but thank you. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions? All right. I think we're done with questions. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for joining us today. At this time, we'll go ahead and go to support testimony, and I invite anyone wishing to testify in support to AB 316.
Good afternoon. My name is Dawn Echeverry, President of the Nevada State Education Association, speaking in support of AB 316. Educators are committed to the success and well-being of our students, and we work every day to help students find their voice. There is no more important place for a student's voice than in the decisions that impact their lives, their day-to-day lives. Student perspectives can help inform better decision-making at our school boards, while also giving students some ownership in the important decisions impacting schools. Decisions like school policy, curriculum, and resource allocation. AB 316 will facilitate communication between districts and students, promoting transparency and increasing civic engagement. As NSCA continues to advocate for the inclusion of an educator's voice on the school boards, we fully support incorporation of a student voice as well. We ask for your support in AB 316. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis with Communication Workers of America. First, I'd like to come out and compliment Assemblyman Nguyen on his owl day. It's pretty sharp. And then I'd also like to follow, if we want to get our youth involved, let's get them involved. I support this bill.
Aloha mabuhay. My name is Maria Teresa Hank, for the record, and I support AB 316 on behalf of myself.
Hello, I'm Mia Tiopis. My last name is T-S-I-O-P-O-S, and I am in full support of this bill. To quote founding father Thomas Jefferson, a well-informed citizenry is the best defense against tyranny. Having a board of trustees is crucial as it promotes civic education and engagement. Driving up here with two of my colleagues, I realized how lucky I am to have the opportunity to speak today, and that I know that I have the opportunity to speak today, which isn't as present to other people. It's present to me because of the opportunities I have taken in high school, but again, not everyone has these opportunities. This bill would be a way to have more students involved and care about what is happening in our local state government as well as nationwide. An article posted by Tufts University stated that 42% of eligible high school voted in the last election. While this number may seem high enough compared to the 2020 and 2016 election, it has dropped a significant amount, with a 19% drop from the election in 2016. Being in my high school's We the People program, I've learned the importance of laws, the Constitution, and being involved. And this bill is exactly about what we talk about in the classroom. It is imperative having an increase in civics in our government and for our future generations, along with the generation we have today. As a student, I urge a vote in favor of AB 316.
I thank the chair and the rest of the committee. My name is Zachary Quaid, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y-Q-U-A-D-E, and I'm a senior at Reno High School. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next. Abraham Lincoln probably didn't say this misattributed quote, yet I argue that its sentiment is anything but false. The experiences that students have in public education drive societal and political norms that continue to be seen throughout adulthood, and I strongly support Assembly Bill 316 because of this connection. According to Edward Lempinon, 2024 research from the University of California shows that my generation, Generation Z, feels that broken politics has left them fatalistic on important issues like the economy and climate change. I can see these attitudes in my own community, where the most brilliant and spirited of my peers are discouraged by the way politics and government operates at the local, state, and national level. Giving students an easier opportunity to participate and make their voices heard in a way that reflects political processes can go a long way in ensuring that my generation doesn't give up on the government in the future. Adding a student to the Board of Trustees in Nevada school districts would be an important exercise in increasing civic engagement and responsibility. An argument against passing this policy may be that young students are too irresponsible to have a voice on their Board of Trustees. However, if we fail to provide young students with responsibilities and meaningful objectives, then they will have no means of gaining the very accountability that people argue they need. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next. Give students a voice and responsibility in the schoolroom, and they will replicate that voice in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. My colleagues had a question. Are you in debate or theater?
I am in debate, and I'm also in We the People.
I knew it. I was a debater back in my day. Thank you for your testimony. Go ahead and proceed.
Hi, my name is Vida Lin. I'm the president and founder of the Asian Community Development Council, for the record. I'm in support of this AB 316, right? Okay. See, I'm listening to these youth and I feel so empowered. One thing that we do for the last 10 years is we make sure that our community register to vote and make sure they go to the polls and make sure they have voice. Having students be part of this is our future. We've known that doing this work for the last 10 years. So we definitely support this bill, and let's listen to our youth.
I don't see anybody else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of AB 316, and I do not see anyone in Las Vegas. At this time, we'll go ahead and go to the line. AVH, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support of Assembly Bill 316, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, please press star 6 to unmute your phone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett, honorable members of the Assembly Education Committee. My name is Sebastian Rios, Sebastian Rios, and I'm a high school senior currently attending Leadership Academy of Nevada. I am testifying before you today to express my personal reflections on AB 316. I hope to share key takeaways and points from the legislation that I feel would positively and strongly impact the youth community here in the state of Nevada. To begin, I currently serve as chair of the Nevada Youth Legislature, which is a legislative program that serves to involve youth in the legislative processes of our great state. Through this role, I've had the opportunity to witness the immense positive impact created by involving youth in decision-making matters that affect them. There is perhaps no greater issue that affects the day-to-day lives of students and youth than education. By involving youth in decision-making processes made by our school district boards of trustees, we would be ensuring that the concerns of the youth community are considered in their deliberations. Youth will add key perspective to the work of the board, strengthening the wealth of ideas and proposals to key issues, as well as allow for issues to be brought up that may be otherwise overlooked. That all being said, not only would the legislation benefit the work of the board, but the youth community greatly benefits as well. By participating and being a part of board activities, youth involved will gain a deep understanding of how education administration works in our state. By involved students coming back to their student communities through different forums, the information they have learned will then be shared with youth from around the state, growing the general knowledge around the important work completed by school boards. This demystifies the process of educational administration for our student community and grows the interest of that community to involve themselves in advocacy and public service, which in turn could benefit academic success among other areas. To conclude, I know that when youth are provided with the opportunity to represent their community, they gain excellent enthusiasm for community and public service, and they learn about leadership at each step of the way. And so I'm hopeful we'll be able to provide this chance to our youth. I support this legislation so that we're able to grow the youth voice in student community here in our state of Nevada. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll go ahead and go to opposition. Is anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 316?
Not that we're all racing to get to the front. Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett, members of the committee. For the record, Dylan Shaver here today on behalf of the Washoe County School District. Not a debater, but I was very good on the quiz team. The Washoe County Student Voice Program was correctly praised at several points during the presentation. There is a lot of energy that is put into ensuring that Washoe County students have a seat and a voice at the table. And when it comes to a lot of the policies before the school board, whether it is cell phones, sex ed, or whatever else, the student voice process has affected public policy. I'll remind the committee that whole process happened without a law. And because something happens in Washoe County does not necessarily mean that it should be adopted into NRS or that we should expect that the other 16 school districts in the state do it the same way we do. And as such, the Washoe County School District is here today in opposition to this bill. There's been a great deal of passion and energy expressed about this, and for those of you who are so interested in applying that in an internship with Pinion Public Affairs, we'd love to have you. But here for business today, unfortunately, we're going to be on the other side of this one. I'll remind the committee that, at least from our perspective here, not every problem requires a new law, and not every law solves a problem. So we look forward to continuing to work with students in Washoe County. We appreciate the sponsor's intent here. We do not believe that we need to codify what WCSD does into a law that locks the hands of both our trustees and the voters in our community moving forward. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark, again here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards. And we too rise in opposition to AB 316. And I think it's really important. A lot of the really good questions were asked by the committee, as I would expect from the most educated, wonderful, hardworking committee in the building. And it really goes to the disruption of the existing foundations and programs that we have in each of the districts. So as the lobbyist for the association, I've spoken with all of our trustees, and they feel that it would be disruptive. We did post the example of White Pine. That is a program that is fairly new. It was driven by the students and wanted to have it. And again, as Mr. Shaver stated, there wasn't a law required to do so. And many of the other school boards across the state are willing to do so. One of the biggest concerns, and Madam Chair, through you to Assembly Member LaRue Hatch, spot on. The information that comes in those big old binders, Mr. Koenig will understand, some of it is proprietary. Some of it is very sensitive. And so staff would have to go through and desensitize the information that's there, because the last thing we would want is the wrong information to show up on an Instagram post or a Facebook post or anything like that. The pay structure, as was discussed, very detrimental to the process. I think that one message that was in the presentation is that students don't have a voice. I think what you've heard is that they do. And they do have a voice, whether it be an advisory board, whether it be in those counties that have a trustee, whether it be public comment, the agenda for each of their school boards. Each one of those students has a school board trustee that they can work with to move and pass certain initiatives and be educated about things. There are ways for kids to be involved, students to be involved in this process. And we hope that they participate in this process because it's important that they are there. So with that, Madam Chair, I'm out of time, but I will just leave it with this. The Nevada Association of School Boards loves the participation of our students in this process. Putting something in law that mandates or even gives the opportunity for a school board
Mr.
to
Clark,
then have
thank
to
you
do
so
that.
much for your testimony. You're really pushing it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Nathaniel Law, Director of Government Relations, Clark County School District. Chair Torres Fawcett, members of the committee, we're in opposition of AB 316. We appreciate the intent to increase student engagement in school governance. We're relieved to see some of the amendments removing the convention thing, but another concern is that $750 compensation per meeting for a student trustee. One of the big risks that this poses is for student participation in athletics. Providing a student trustee with a compensation of $750 per meeting could negatively affect a student's amateur status under various athletic eligibility regulations. This unintended consequence risks deterring student athletes from engaging in governance roles, which ironically runs counter to the bill's stated intention of promoting diverse student representation. Moreover, the proposed compensation structure may inadvertently create inequitable barriers by attracting candidates motivated by primarily by financial incentives rather than genuine interest in student advocacy and governance. Students from less affluent backgrounds who might benefit from authentic representation could find themselves excluded or overlooked as these roles become competitive due to their monetary appeal. Additionally, CCSD trustee meetings begin at 5 p.m. and often extend late into the night, potentially restricting quality student participation due to or I should say equitable student participation due to transportation issues, conflicts with athletics, extracurricular activities, employment, and family obligations. One thing that Assemblymember Koenig mentioned was a bill to make our trustees in Clark County full-time. That same bill also offers all appointed CCSD trustees a vote, if both of those passes, then this student becomes an appointed Clark County trustee who then would have a vote under those provisions. We believe empowering local school boards to create flexible, inclusive, and equitable methods for student engagement and representation is preferable. Local school districts should have the discretion to structure student trustee roles, including considerations for appropriate and non-problematic compensation levels tailored to their specific community needs. And as Dr. Keating mentioned, CCSD does have the Superintendent's Advisory Council, and we urge this committee to oppose AB 316. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and go. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead and begin when you're ready, Ms. Brzezinski.
That's okay, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Brzezinski, here representing the Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we appreciate the fact we've had conversations not with Assemblyman Nguyen, but with the co-sponsor, and discuss this bill to some extent. And I appreciate the fact that there has been an amendment brought forward which makes it much more palatable than it was initially. But we still have concerns about the bill. We look forward to working on it a bit more, paying the student a salary, for lack of a better term, to participate on the board is not what is happening in some other school districts. There have been school districts around the country that offer credit for the student who participates. There are several other things that can be done here, and we look forward to more conversation. But right now, we can't be 100% in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I do not see anybody else here in Carson City to testify in opposition to AB 316, and I do not see anybody in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition to AB 316, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, you're unmuted. Please proceed.
Barry Johnston, BERYJOHNSTON, Las Vegas. Because this education committee and our civics education is failing, I'd like to remind you of your right to free speech granted by the First Amendment Nevada Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, open meeting laws, the state ethics law give Nevadans the right to say what we want. You can't stop us. I am in strong opposition because this is yet another bureaucratic illusion of accountability, another feel-good program that changes nothing while ignoring the voices of parents and students. Towing and opposing commenters pointed out the education committee members don't even know how the process works. This bill creates a non-voting student trustee, but let's be honest, what does that actually accomplish? A student can sit at the table, express an opinion, and then watch the board does whatever it wants, whatever it's going to do anyway. That's not accountable. This is window dressing. Where in this bill is parental involvement? Where is the requirements the school board listen to families that they are supposed to serve? Nowhere, because this bill is not about real representation. It's about maintaining the status quo and pretending to listen. We've seen this before, just like Citizen Review Board at Metro. This will be a toothless advisory board position with no power, no enforcement, no consequences for school boards that continue to ignore students, parents, and communities. This is a distraction from the real issues: failing schools with zero accountability, teacher union that prioritizes the power over education, a curriculum that teaches compliance instead of critical thinking. My friends' kids, not me or my friends, the kids say if they do not write in liberal tone, their teachers are going to lower their grade. If they speak out, are they going to be branded anti-woke and staff punish them like they are now? Will they be singled out every time they participate here? If we actually cared about accountability, we would be talking about parental oversight, school choice, and real consequences failing educators and administrators. But instead, this bill gives more powerless seat at the table, one more box to check off while nothing changes. If you're serious about fixing
Thank you. And would you be able to spell your name for the record? Thank you.
BERRYJOHNSTON.
Thank you.
Informed, not political.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Next caller, please.
Chair, there are no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and go to neutral. Is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral to AB 316? I do not see anyone here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral to AB 316?
Chair, we have had no additional callers, so there are no callers in neutral at this time.
All right. At this time, we will go ahead and invite the bill sponsor for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair Torres Fawcett. For the record, my name is Laura Jean Penrod, and thank you for the comments, the questions, and for hearing us today. I deeply appreciate it. As an educator of almost 20 years in Clark County School District, I've seen the detriment of students not being at the school board meetings, the students not sitting at the table and not using their voice publicly to be able to have a voice that's represented with people who are making the big decisions. I spent 2023 in this legislative session working with my students tirelessly to support bills, give testimony, do all sorts of things which some of your members on this board know. And I've never seen students more passionate about making a change that affects them daily, from AB 73 with cultural and religious regalia to college and career readiness bills, as well as financial literacy. And unfortunately, just advisory groups don't always get a chance to be at the table. And so we really need to consider if these young people are becoming adults and about to vote, they can buy a gun and they can go to war. But you're telling me they can't sit on a board and use their voice, and they're not even being given the right to vote. We have to trust them at some point that they're going to be adult enough to handle these decisions, especially if they're being trained and they're being guided and they're not just being set on there with no guidance whatsoever. I will use and defer to Michael Keys, who has been on the state board for 2 years. I have worked with him for the last year, and I can't tell you how proud I am to sit next to this young person who has drafted so much of this bill and has helped continuously and tirelessly to let his peers have a seat at the table. I think it's time, and I think we're ready. I just think we have to be brave enough to do it.
Thank you, Michael Keys, for the record. I, like Mrs. Penrod has said, have sat on the State Board of Education for the past 2 years. I've used my voice to uplift other students' voices, and from what I've learned is that students don't feel like they have a voice. They can go to public comment, they can do that, but they don't feel like they're being heard. I'll just be quick. I thank you for the comments and the questions and concerns, and I look forward to Assemblymember Wynn working together. And then students are the ones sitting in the desks every day. I urge you to give them a seat at the table as well.
Yui Wing for the record. Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett, Vice Chair De Silva, and all the members of the Education Committee. I know that we still have a lot of work to do, and I look forward to working with all of you to get this to the next step. And of course, with all the opposition and of course all the supporters, we want to move forward and provide student that voice. So thank you again for your time, and we will see you soon.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 316, and we will open the hearing on AB 472. So I'll go ahead and invite Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you, Chair Erica Mosca, for the record. Thank you, Education Committee, for hearing this bill today, Assembly Bill 472. Before I start, I'll just remind you that this is a committee bill, so this was already heard and discussed in the interim, and so it was passed out of committee, so we hope this will be a quicker hearing today, but of course, excited to answer all your questions. And before I begin, I have a co-presenter, so I'll have her introduce herself.
Thank you, Assemblymember Mosca. Good afternoon. For the record, this is Mayri Nunag. It's Mairinunag. Thank you.
Thank you. And so today we'll talk about the why behind Assembly Bill 472, which has to do with one of my favorite topics, which is our J-1 visa teachers here in Nevada. We'll talk about the context of previous legislation. We are going to hear from, I'm so grateful, so many teachers are here today, as well as educators, because it's spring break. So we're excited. We'll hear from a teacher perspective. I'll go over the bill, which has no amendments, and answer any questions. So, of course, under my pillars, even though it's not my bill, it was my bill last session, so that's why I included it under my pillars, under higher education workforce attainment, because we actually think about this when it comes to work for me under workforce. And so we're really trying to figure out, we know that there's a problem with J-1 visa cultural exchange teachers who pay excessive fees and who want to stay in Nevada. And after 5 years, they can't actually stay. So we've come up with a solution, talking to many, many stakeholders about limiting the type of agencies districts can partner with, and different from last session. The districts agree this time, which we're excited. And we are proposing a new idea of creating a grant program that would actually help teachers who are finishing their J-1 service now actually apply for H-1s or permanent visas. So before I start, I'll just say, especially for those of you who are not on the committee last session or during the interim, J-1 visas are actually a really huge issue, and they're a statewide issue. In Mineral County, more than 50% of their teachers are J-1 visa teachers from the Philippines. That's Mineral County in rural Nevada. So this is an issue that is statewide. That's why we're bringing legislation. But whether I'm at a Filipino event, or I'm at an event with educators, or I'm in my district, that's the bottom right in Assembly District 14, we have a Filipino grocery store in my district. It's like the number one issue that a lot of people talk to me about. And it's not only Filipino teachers, but as the first Filipina to represent in the state, I think it's something that people bring up to me. And even before I was an Assembly member, it was a big issue that folks would bring up. So that's why this bill is here today. Last session, both myself as well as Senator Flores had a bill that aimed at supporting what could we do for our J-1 visa teachers. It did not go through. However, it didn't have a hearing. Mine didn't have a hearing. His did have a hearing. His died. We were able to last session at least get the study in the interim. So we at least got the study part out, and the outcome of that study is really this hearing today. So in the interim, we had a great meeting where the Mineral County Superintendent spoke. I had a teacher with me, Miss Casino, who teaches at the school I used to teach at, who is a J-1 teacher, and I presented the committee with a lot of statistics and details and information about the J-1 visa program, as well as what other districts and states are doing. So we really kind of had a full presentation during the interim. And so the solutions that are coming out today in this bill are what came out of that discussion. And so before I go over the bill, which is our solution, I think it's really important we hear from a teacher. So we're excited that the CCEA has helped us, and excited that you will now share your perspective.
Thank you once again. For the record, this is Myri Nunag. I just wanted to say hi to all CCA members in the room and to all other guests here, and of course to this august body. Thank you for this opportunity to co-present this bill, which holds immense importance, relevance, and urgency for stakeholders in public education, including our districts, students, communities, and teachers. Before I begin, I kindly ask that everyone keep an open mind and listen closely to understand the rationale behind why this bill must be given immediate attention, although it's established already. Well, the J-1 non-immigrant visa program allows individuals to work in the U.S. for a limited term under the auspices of an educational cultural exchange program. Within the program, there are 14 categories, one of which is for teachers. And the way it works, there are visa sponsors acting as intermediaries between the host entity, which is the employer, the district for us, and the exchange visitor, the worker, or the teachers. These sponsors are meant to support the experiences of the J-1 visa holders during their limited time in the U.S. But in many instances, there's also a conduit or an agency or a recruiter who facilitates the recruitment process, and unfortunately, across the U.S., the J-1 visa program is abused in so many ways, particularly hurting our teachers. So such as subjecting them to coercion, misrepresentation, debt bondage, and a lot more. Also, the J-1 visa was never intended or designed to address the job shortages and vacancies in hard-to-fill positions school districts across the country are currently facing. However, recruiters have increasingly used the program for this very purpose, importing highly qualified foreign cheap labor. Many sponsors, prioritizing their own interests, align themselves with exploitative recruitment agencies rather than supporting the teachers. In fact, several J-1 teachers nationwide have filed and have been granted humanitarian-based visas due to this mistreatment that they have faced, which the courts and the immigration offices recognize as unjust. And some of these teachers are from CCSD. J-1 teachers are typically assigned to hard-to-fill positions. In CCSD alone, we have approximately 460 J-1 teachers, more than 100 of whom serve in autism programs and other high-needs areas, impacting around 10,000 students. With over 700 vacancies in CCSD, losing J-1 teachers would mean that our students would lose educators who have necessary knowledge, skills, and dedication, as well as earned experience to deliver quality education. Moreover, the district would have to find replacement teachers, which is a costly process, approximately like $25,000 per teacher for onboarding alone. This bill's end intention is to maintain students' well-being, be it academic, social, psychological, or behavioral, by looking into ways to help these teachers, the J-1 teachers, to stay longer in the U.S. One suggestion is transitioning their status from J-1 to H-1B visas, offering teachers to pathway permanency and possibly citizenship. While other districts have successfully implemented this approach, others face financial and legal barriers. Another is to provide also prompt legal aid and procedural support to qualify J-1 teachers eligible to apply for either humanitarian-based visas or self-petition routes. In a few moments, you will be hearing testimonies in person, on the phone, and in writing, summarizing highlights, key statistics, and the significance of this bill. While many districts have chosen not to support J-1 teachers, let me share a story about the positive outcomes when foreign educators are properly protected. It was in 2008 when I, along with 340 Filipino teachers, flew to Louisiana. We were hopeful and ready to do our very best as teachers and to responsibly thrive in an unfamiliar place, and we thought we were thriving. Until we realized that the recruitment process resulted in numerous hardships and injustices that were and are intolerable in the United States. And true to that, with the support of individuals and institutions, we were able to unite ourselves and push the first ever class certified case against professionals, which we won in 2012. Our case became a legal precedent, referenced in several studies and even published in law books, guiding future cases. We won because we were afforded the legal and moral support we deserved. Now, several years later, we remained in the United States, still doing our very best, living responsibly, and continuing to have a positive impact in the U.S. This is what we envision for our fellow J-1 teachers, as they too, like we once were, experience hardships resulting from the recruitment process. And as we are now, they all have an immense positive impact to the lives of our students, their families, and the community. But in order for this current reality to be a possibility for my fellow teachers, I need all of your support and foresight. Labor exploitation occurs more than you might think, and in places you may not expect. August Assembly members, this bill will make a difference. It will provide J-1 teachers with the support they need to thrive in the U.S., serving our public education. And so, in behalf of my fellow advocates, teachers, and our families, We thank you in advance for your consideration support for this bill, and thank you for your commitment to immigrant labor, to educators, and most importantly, to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And Erica Mosca for the record. So I'll really just go over the bill. Again, there are no amendments. Section 2, really, as you eloquently stated, really is trying to make sure that we are not exploiting people who come here to teach. So Section 2 says that districts can only partner with agencies that do not exceed $10,000 of their charges. And so again, this was heavily talked about in the interim, but there are folks that I've talked to that are charged over $30,000 to come here, and there are folks who are charged less than that. And I'll say CCSD has been working on us with this now for a couple months, and they now only partner with sponsors who are around this number as well. And I know we'll hear later from Mary Brzezinski, and Mineral County also said that this would work for them. So I think in all, even though it wasn't legislated yet, I know all the players have come together to make sure that we're not exploiting teachers, but we think it's important that it's also in the law. And then the second thing is, you can be a J1 teacher up to 5 years, because then you're here, you do you renew it, and then you're here for 5 years. But then after that, you have to go back. And so what we're trying to say is, because there are you'll hear a lot of teachers who their schools love them, their students love them. It's cheaper than having a new teacher come, and they're in very hard to fill placements. And so what we're saying is we should do something as a state to help teachers stay who want to stay by creating, which is Section 3, which is a grant program that then districts could apply to if they wanted to help their teachers transition. So before, we were really talking about front-end recruitment, and now what this bill is trying to do is also retention of folks who've already been here, who've learned the culture, who've learned families and students and classroom management. And it's like, why train folks and then have them leave and then have another vacancy, especially when more than anything they would like to stay here as well. And so with that, happy to answer any and all questions, and just want to thank those who've been, we've been meeting with multiple community groups, CCEA, Workforce Connections, Triana, Ms. Triana is the Chief of HR at CCSD, and then of course with Mineral County. So there have been a lot of folks who've been working on this, and I know today they also considered Filipino Town in the Clark County Commission. So with that, happy to answer any and all questions.
Members, can I just see who has a question first? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start first with Assemblymember Dahlia.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation, for bringing this bill. I just have a quick mechanical question about the $10,000 threshold. Would that, because I believe it says just the per person costs, is that intended to be the average, or are you going to look at all the contracts to see if someone's been charged $30,000? Thank you.
Erica Mosco for the record. Thank you so much for that great question. It is 10,000 because we've kind of done that. We've looked at all the we haven't actually looked at that, but we've had a lot of discussions with folks who are in this work. And what we find qualitatively is that the folks who are charging around this much are not the folks who are then taking advantage of people. So that's why we chose this number, because it's kind of like, I think, where it works, but also if you'd like to share anything as well.
Yes, for the record, Myrene Nunag, in our experience, we think that, first of all, there are designated, or you should say assigned, visa sponsors in the U.S., and not all of, and a lot of them are nonprofit. We would like to have access to those nonprofits should we go still to J1, because in reality, not all Filipino teachers would like to stay. They just wanted to really, in essence, get that exchange learning and bring it back to our home country. I am here more speaking in behalf of those who were coerced, who were abused, and who have learned to really love serving public education. And we all know it's a human right to choose where we thrive, right? And it's just for these teachers to be retained, because it's not because that they wanted to stay here, and because it's just because they need to have due justice, and it's more importantly, they love serving here. To the amount, I think 10,000 less would be for now. Okay, I guess. But if we could access those, again, nonprofit visa sponsors, it will be much lesser. Thank you.
Erica Moss for the record, because I just add that there are some for-profit visa sponsors that do charge like $30,000, and that's in U.S. money, not in, home countries, which again are not just the Philippines, it's just the majority. So we find folks actually leave after their service owing more money to their visa sponsor than they've actually made while working here. And so that's what's really caused the impetus of the bill.
Thank you. Building off that, has there been any consideration to require that it is a nonprofit visa sponsor?
Erica Mosca for the record, we have not considered that yet, but we can look into that.
Thank you. I know I have a couple other questions. I believe next, Assemblymember Ortlicker.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. What exactly do they do for the $10,000, the agencies?
Erica Mosca for the record. I'll start, and then if you'd like to add anything. They are really kind of like, I think of it as a headhunter type of thing. They're the ones that help the teachers get the paperwork they need to come over to the United States, to be in compliance, to speak with the district. It's kind of like their go-between.
Myri Nunag for the record. A lot of those fees go to transcript evaluation, those licensure, and I know there's a fee for the immigration when you do your visa fees and all of those. But yeah, you're correct, Assembly Member Mosca, that those lavish fees go to the pocket of the recruiters. They double charge, triple charge. Sometimes, a lot of times in other areas, in other districts, they double dip. They get money from the district, they got money from the recruits, and they fatten their pockets, those recruiters. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to actually follow up on that. So in this process, the way that it works now, are the teachers that have a J1 visa paying the district and also paying their recruiter? Or is that, no, they just pay that agency?
Myri Nunag again for the record. No, the recruits just pay their agencies and the visa sponsors. I just wanted to do another rejoinder. Another part of those lavish fees also goes to the forced fees for medical insurances for the visa sponsors, where in fact the teachers have medical insurance when they get to the district. So a lot of things go there. And also, I don't know if I can also add this, before the recruits leave the Philippines, particularly the Philippines, because J1 is all over, right? We also have J1 from other countries, but particularly the Philippines, because we need to pay this $10,000 and we don't have that, the recruiters will give us loan sharks. So that is where we also have that debt bondage that comes in. But there's no charge for the district, for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and go to the next question. Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. I have a two-part question. Well, it's actually two questions. So one, just to understand the technicalities of the bill. So we have the J1 visa. Once that provision expires, then the ND will set up a fund to make that employee now a paid employee pretty much of the school district, which would then make them eligible for the H-1B, and then eventually allow them a pathway towards a green card. Is that the goal?
Erica Mosca for the record. I think similar, but maybe to us, the goal is just have a retention strategy, and talking to all of the different stakeholders. That's kind of what we could come up with. Again, thinking about the state, what's the state role? So it's less of that's the goal. It's to give people permanent residence. It's really just, if you have a teacher that wants to stay and their principal has kept them at their school, so they must be a good teacher if the principal has kept them there, how do we give them a pathway to stay if they want to stay a teacher?
Thank you. Just a second quick question there, Chair. Okay. thank you. And then the second question is about the actual recruiters and agencies. Is there like a list of who these people are and what these agencies are, and can that be disclosed to the public for some oversight? Thank you.
Erica Moss, for the record, I would say, I'm trying to think. I know CCSD gave us some exhibits that we included on Nellis. I don't know if it includes the actual sponsors, but they have been doing a lot of work in this past year to change the folks they are sponsoring with. Can I ask CCSD that question? If it's legally.
I think that would be a great
Okay.
question, but they're not in the room. But we can make sure we follow up with CCSD. Thank you. And I did have kind of another question or consideration. I know that this piece of legislation does say that the program costs in Section 2 should not exceed $10,000. And then based off what you stated, that would include like license fees and visa fees. My concern would be, what if those costs go up? Right. So I'm not sure how we account for that in legislation, but if we could have an amendment that included that. I know the immigration fees are beyond our control, right? And so I could see a reality where those fees went up and then this all became more expensive. And so just making sure that was taken into account for, I think, would be helpful. I don't believe that there are any other questions at this time. There's no questions. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your presentation. Great job. And at this time, we'll go ahead and invite anyone wishing to testify in support of AB 472. When you're ready, please make sure you state your name, spell your name, and your affiliation, if any.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. I am, for the record, my name is Felix de Ramirez, R-A-M-I-R-A-Z, a J1 special education teacher in one of the Title I schools in East Las Vegas. Also, I'm currently taking my master's degree in special education at UNLV under the Nevada Collaborative for Autism and STAR endorsement. I am here to speak in support of the AB 472. In 2023, our school hired 5 J1 teachers to fill in the 3 general education teachers and 2 special education classroom teachers. Despite the 5 added teachers, the school still understaffed when it comes to licensed teachers. In May of 2028, the 5 of us, including myself, end our teaching service in CCSD and have to go back to the Philippines. Seeing this scenario, CCSD, particular our school, will face academic challenges, such as, first, trained teachers will be removed or will be moved out from the district. Second, the number of hard-to-fill-in teaching positions, such as those in special education, will continue to rise. Third, teacher-student ratio will be unsolved. As a J1 teacher and special education teacher, I am committed to supporting this bill for 3 impactful reasons. First, the primary goal is to uphold the CCSD academic targets, which aims to increase students' proficiency level in math, science, reading, and special education. Second, the happiness, the professional fulfillment, and the support that we receive from the district and the school, the community, and the families. And lastly, we are committed to fostering our passion for teaching students with special needs and enhancing community and family involvement, all of which contribute to our children's successful learning journey. That is why I urge you to support Assembly Bill 472. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Maria Donata Rodaza, R-A-D-A-Z-A, a self-contained autism program teacher at Schofield Middle School. I am an 8-year special education educator within CCSD and a proud CCEA member. I am in support of AB 472. My teaching journey began as a J1 exchange teacher, and I am now in the process of transitioning my status to permanent residency with the ultimate goal of obtaining U.S. citizenship. I wholeheartedly support the J1 program, which has brought 469 highly skilled and qualified teachers to the Clark County School District collectively serving more than 10,000 students. With CCSD having over 700 unfilled vacancies to date, of which 113 J1 autism teachers take that position. It is essential to retain dedicated educators who are willing and eager to continue making a difference in the community. I am a highly qualified special education teacher currently working on my doctoral degree. Due to the J1 program, I have been able to assist students with learning disabilities and autism develop essential skills that empower them both outside and inside of the classroom. While myself and other educators have made a meaningful impact on our students due to the J1 program, there are still fundamental issues with the system, primarily the longevity of the program. The J1 program only allows educators to stay for up to 5 years, making it difficult for myself and others to continue.
Thank you so much for your testimony. I'm sorry, your 2 minutes are up, but please make sure you submit your written remarks. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Good afternoon, Lady Chair and members of the committee. My name is Edna Ingles, for the record, INGLES, and I am a licensed Nevada special education teacher, approaching 5 years in the Clark County School District, which means my clock is ticking. I have served in 2 different high vacancy schools, and I am a proud member of CCEA. As a J1 teacher, I'm in full support of AB 472. It has been part of the Clark County School District recruiting division to hire teachers, mostly from the Philippines, using J1 visas, which are really intended for cultural exchange. And I came here, I belong to the batch who came here December 4th, 2020. And we paid our agency $20,000, which is a large fortune in the Philippines, aside from what we pay to our visa sponsors yearly. This year, there are nearly 500 J1 teachers like myself, and each year, Clark County School District loses 1,600 educators. Many of those are dedicated professionals under a J1 visa who have reached their 5-year limit. Our students suffer from this transition, and the educators, including myself, also suffer and must restart their lives because there is no government support for those returning from this visa. Hiring these teachers under H-1B visas would be better for a student and the district. The longer stay would mean more stability for public education and reductions in the need for onboarding and training. The district will strengthen and extend consistent support for thousands of students. About a third of J1 educators serves in special education, including myself. Most of us have a master's degree, many a doctoral degree, and our average experience is about 15 years. Speaking for my fellow Filipino teachers, we are compassionate, dedicated, and nurturing. We establish strong connections with our students, parents, and school communities. This bill will improve our district's teachers shortage and average quality of educators. This bill offers us the opportunity to thrive and continue those strong connections and trust we build with our students.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przinski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we are in support of this bill, which has brought, the J1s have been some wonderful teachers in our school district. And I want to especially speak for Mineral County because the superintendent there I spoke with just a bit ago, and she says, please pass this bill because she has 2 fabulous teachers that she's going to lose if this bill doesn't get passed. So they've been important in our regular district schools, in our charter schools, and so we're in full support and hope you can pass the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. I am Edelweiss Solano. I am the Senior Director at the Asian Community Development Council, or ACDC. I support Assembly Bill 472. J1 teachers have made significant contributions to the Clark County School District education system for approximately over 15 years, as they bring specialized expertise, passion, and commitment to student success. This bill will play a crucial role in continuing that impact and help reduce teacher shortage, thus providing long-term employment for skilled educators. I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark, here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, very much in support of this particular piece of legislation and appreciate Assemblymember Mosca bringing it forward. Not every one of our districts takes advantage of this program, but as you heard, Mineral County definitely does, our urban districts do. And I think if we have a program like this that increases the opportunities, more of our rural districts would definitely take advantage of bringing these J1 teachers into our classrooms. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett, members of the committee. My name is Eric Chang, ERICJNG. I'm the Executive Director of One API Nevada, a grassroots advocacy organizing group for the Asian American community. Ditto.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else here in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of AB 472. And I do not see anyone in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 472?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support of Assembly Bill 472, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Alexander Marks, MARKS, with the Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 125 years in all 17 counties. We support AB 472. NSCA represents J1 visa holders throughout Nevada and in Mineral County, which has been mentioned several times. We support J1 visa holders because they bring in valuable cultural exchange, diversity, and expertise to our schools and communities. These educators help address teacher shortages, enrich learning experiences with global perspectives, and foster mutual understanding among students. We feel strongly they shouldn't be taken advantage of, and supporting J1 visa holders strengthens our education system and ensures every child has access to high quality, well-rounded instruction. We urge your support. Thank you.
Chair, there are no additional callers at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and move to opposition for AB 472. I do not see anyone here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 472?
Thank you, Chair. We have no additional callers at this time. Oh, excuse me. Someone did raise their hand. Just one moment, please.
All right. Please proceed.
Barry Johnston, Las Vegas, BERRY, JOHNSTON. I rise in strong opposition to AB 472, a bill that puts foreign hiring ahead of American educators and wastes taxpayer money that should be recruiting Americans for the best school districts, not funding visa scholarships. 10,000 times 10 to 100,000, that's a full-time position for recruiting Americans. Let's cut through the noise. We don't have a teacher shortage. We have a teacher retention problem. The unions have pushed out some of the best educators in our public schools and into homeschooling, private school, out-of-state, or entirely different careers. That's great for parents who can afford better education options, but what about the kids left behind by parents who can't afford better education options? But what happens to those whose religion is government dependent? What about families trapped in failing schools because they have a lack of resources to escape? The union-driven system is failing us an entire generation. And let's get something straight. If a school district can afford to pay tens of thousands of dollars in visa fees, they can afford to recruit top American teachers. Instead of importing foreign labor who can't even speak English properly, why aren't we aggressively hunting for the best educators?
Sir, we're only here talking about the bill. We're not talking about individual teachers, but if you want to talk specifically about the facts of the bill, you can do that. Thank you.
I'm talking about why the bill is a failure. You can't interrupt me. I can say whatever I want to say per the First Amendment and the Nevada Constitution, Article 1, Section 9. Do not interrupt us. If a school district can afford to pay tens of thousands of dollars in visa fees, they can afford to recruit the top teachers. Instead of importing foreign labor who can't even speak English properly, we need to be aggressively hunting for the best educators across the country. Why aren't we offering better pay, real support, and a system that rewards excellence? If a business can poach top talent, why can't our schools do the
Thank you,
same?
sir. Your
This bill
testimony
doesn't
time is up. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you have additional written remarks, please submit them to my committee staff.
Chair, there are no additional callers at this time.
Thank you. And at this time, we will go ahead and move to neutral. Is there anyone wishing to testify neutral to AB 472? I do not see anyone here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral to AB 472?
Thank you, Chair. We have had no additional callers to the queue at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll go ahead and invite the bill sponsor for any closing remarks when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank this committee for considering this bill, thanking all of our community for coming out and just sharing their thoughts. And I know if we had enough teachers, we wouldn't have to have this bill, but we don't have enough teachers. So we have this bill, and we appreciate and urge your support. And thank you all for considering it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I definitely appreciate the value that our teachers with J1 visas play in our important school model. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 472, and we will continue on. I do want to remind the public before we head into public comment. The public comment is not an opportunity to rehear legislation that we have already heard today. So if you have additional comments on any of the legislation that we have heard today, you will not be able to provide that in public comment. If you do, I will just ask for us to go to the next person. So if you're on the line, please make sure you remember that public comment is not your opportunity to rehear any legislation that we have already heard today. So we will go ahead and go to public comment. I'm going to invite anyone here wishing to testify in public comment. You have 2 minutes to provide testimony. Public comment may be submitted to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. I do not see anyone here in Carson City, and I do not see anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify on public comment. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify on public comment?
Thank you, Chair. To provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. One moment, Chair. Caller, you're unmuted. Please proceed.
Hi, good afternoon. Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. We just wanted to invite everybody on the committee as well as in the room today at 4:30 ahead of Senator Cortez Masto's speech. NSCA, along with our allies, are going to be convening a walk-in out front of the building to discuss the immediate need to protect Nevada students against the harmful anti-public education policies of the Trump administration. Additionally, Attorney General Aaron Ford is going to be there to discuss the lawsuit he filed to block the dismissal of nearly half of the Department of Education's workforce. We don't need to tell you how detrimental that is going to be to our state, our students, and our kids. So please join us. These are walk-ins that the National Education Association and statewide affiliates are doing throughout the country this week to show lawmakers that we will protect our kids, our schools, and our communities. We urge you to join us at 4:30 p.m. today. Thanks.
Barry Johnston, Las Vegas. I am completely and utterly outraged by the lack of respect you have for taxpayers, the First Amendment, Nevada's Constitution, and ethics. I can say whatever I want during my 2 minutes. If you don't like it, you
Sir,
just sit there and
does
take
this
the
have to
notes.
pertain to the
We're able to
Education
go
Committee?
through
You have to stay on topic, and the topic is education. So if you have something to say about education, please proceed. If not, I will cut you off.
About that again, you're interrupting me, disrespecting the taxpayer. Trump administration is giving all of that money to the schools. The money that's going to $100,000 salary of a bureaucrat is now going to the schools. You don't have the ability to go through and tell me what I can say and what I can't do. You have to sit there and listen to me. It's not your job to sit here and play games because you don't like what I'm saying. And this happens all the time with the people on your side of the wall.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next caller, please, AVH. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no additional public commenters at this time.
Thank you. And just a couple things. If anybody has questions about what the committee rules are, you can submit them in writing to our committee staff, and we can review. But the public comment period is not an opportunity to say whatever you would like about members of the legislature or about members of the public, and we will not allow that in this committee. So thank you so much for joining us and participating. Members, any comments? Great job. And thank you so much to our staff. I know it was a long meeting, so thank you so much for coming prepared. I will see you all on Thursday. This meeting is adjourned.